Hello and welcome to Vision Denial. Wow. My name is Sam, and if you're new here, I've watched every single playoff game of 2022 of every single region participating at Worlds, yes, including that one, and I've dedicated the show to covering Worlds on a daily basis or on for the bracket stage once per week when the brackets come out. This week is the semifinals, and oh boy, none of my predictions came true. And I'm not going to lie here, right? My predictions for the JDG T1 was that it was going to be close and that would give slight edge to JDG. That's fine. I kind of wanted T1 to win. That's fine. The second one, I don't know what to say. I don't think anybody knows what to say from what is the biggest underdog story of the year, as many of the casters keep calling it, of league history. This is the one of the lowest seeded teams to qualify. Not the lowest seed, but one of the lowest seeds. And they're in the finals. This is crazy. That said, just for getting a context of this particular show, I do a review of all of the particular best of fives. I put them up on TikTok for when they're available, so if you want to see that, links down below, including the link to the stats that I use for a lot of the analysis. And without further ado, let's just actually look at these particular reviews. We head off to the semifinals, where we've got T1, the second seed of the LCK, versus JD Gaming, the first seed of the LPL, and the last hope from them. I was expecting this to be much closer, but I am not disappointed. Let's go through game one. The adage here is still true. The team with the lead at 15 minutes still has a 100% win rate for both of them. And this time it's JD Gaming, who had a stronger control around neutrals and were better at executing team fights. T1 found some solid picks frequently, but were unable to play the side lanes to supplement their picks, and instead, JD Gaming took advantage of their sustained damage and wound up playing the game better. MVP to Yagao, whose zoning tools enabled them to skirmish, to enable the team's skirmishing powers. Game 2. The 2-for-2. Whoever wins has at the 15-minute mark has the lead. This win was very different, though. Teamfight victories from T1 were often the results of outplaying the map with proper focus on the side lanes and TP plays that honestly is some of the best macro play I've seen in a long time. T1 outmaneuvered JDG where it mattered for some neutrals, and my MVP goes to Faker, who enabled so many of these map movements. Holy shit, he's so good. Game 3. Now, JD Gaming is showing their issues regarding macro plays and side lane control when they can't control team fighting. T1 are consistently using their goal advantage to put pressure and non-stop attack or test the ability for JD Gaming to think on their toes. T1 is playing a proactive game like no other and never letting JD Gaming play even their own proactive games. My MVP for this game is Faker, who keeps creating map pressures for JD Gaming against JD Gaming, who are just unsure how to respond at any given point other than, let's just get Faker. In the last game, I put my MVP as Faker, who keeps doing the same thing and enabling team fights. It's just so beautiful. Like, holy crap. This is such a huge turnaround of my expectations from this series. Firstly, all right, JD Gaming still held their strengths. Solid neutral plays and team fighting. The issue here comes in as T1 plays some of the fastest paced macro-oriented play while keeping up with JD Gaming's team fighting and neutral objective plays. They matched their strengths and then exceeded everything else that was required. I thought the series would be close, and the first game almost confirmed my suspicions as JD Gaming had a fairly convincing game 1, but it's really hard for me to articulate some of the strongest aspects here for T1. The dual lane bot side was on fire as expected, but more than what Hope and Missing were even able to bring. Zeus outplayed 369, but that was a strong skill matchup. Owner kept up with Kanavi in a way that I didn't expect, where I thought Kanavi would have the edge. And then especially, he just nullified him. And Faker was there to help all four of them excel while still outperforming Yagao. Faker this series smelt blood in the water. Potential rematch for the 2017 loss he had against the very same team that took away his 4th world title. The world is asking, is Faker back? There's really only one answer to that question. The second semifinals. We've got DRX, the 4th seed of the LK, versus Gen.G, the 1st seed of the LCK, in a, I kid you not, I think is the biggest upset in Worlds history. Let's go by it game by game. Like, holy. Game 1. This game is slow, or as it was showed, what happens when, you get one team that holds just reactions to slow tempo versus a team that has strong control of the tempo. And by no means is this something that is a guarantee for future games, but I do want to see Pioshik do something more. My MVP goes to Doran, who absorbed a lot of pressure and still managed to create problems for DRX. Game 2. Gen.G opted to play another slow game, thinking that DRX would just fold over this time. But at this point, DRX properly answered with strong vision, incredible flanks, and better neutral plays. Honestly, the proactivity not being strongly there for either side, and it being a waiting game means setup is the key factor for this series, and it has to be taken seriously. My MVP for this game goes to Kingen, whose flanks, setups, and overall disruption of Gen.G allowed DRX to find those moments to set up the plays needed. Game 3. Honestly, I'm super impressed by Pioshik, who is so much more proactive. Zeka, who is just nullifying Chovy, and Kingen dominating Doran. Oh, Gen have to pick something a lot simpler to overcome some of the bizarre approaches that it isn't enough at all to try to outplay their style and hold them to make plays. You need to have the inherent tools to really outplay them, or you're just going to get thrown to the wayside. My MVP for this game is Pioshik, who created so much early pressure against Peanut and Doran, really limiting any map plays for Gen.G. Final game, my MVP for that game is Beryl, for his literal absorption of every engaged Gen.G attempt to throw and creating so many re-engages that Gen.G didn't know how to respond to. Like, holy fuck. If anybody told me at the start of the year that DRX would be finalists at Worlds, I would laugh so hard in your face. Like, at any point this year, DRX had nothing but question marks for their general performance, and rightly so. They were rightly criticized for this. So many what-ifs come around for this series, and the biggest one, really, Gen.G. What's up, guys? Like, what happened? You had the most terrifying performance of summer, with the strongest set of stats to back it up, were clearly the favorites by far. But none of that was shown from groups or quarters, and especially not in semis. And we saw a very competent team playing at Worlds, but not the dominant Gen.G that made everybody so scared. The bizarre draft choices that leave little to no agency, and the lack of proactivity from both sides is still rather baffling. That is until DRX played with more and more confidence, and a lot more proactivity, stronger vision as a whole, better application of a draft, and honestly, I'm starting to be a believer of what they could do. From this series alone, I would give MVP to almost any of the DRX players, but frankly, I can't believe this, like, Pioshik was the most consistent player of the series, pulling off incredible pressure to nullify Peanut and hold any applicable neutral in their control. And I can't believe it. I really can't believe I'm saying this. I was so critical of Piotrek from playoffs. He gets my MVP for this series. So good. Right. So, right. It's really hard to like acknowledge something. I thought 100%, and you can go through the old stats videos of Meet the Teams. Reviewing the stats and reviewing every game that I had watched for all of the teams and my notes with it. Gen.G was the most terrifying team that was being produced in summer. Hands down, scariest team that was there. Show up to groups. Underperforming, but maybe it's just, the first couple day jitters. FPX was really bizarre in their first week, and then they came back and still won Worlds in 2019. But then that didn't really like pan out. Their groups were still kind of like, they were dominant in the sense that they were like the better team by default, but they didn't have that same kind of like domination that was so one-sided. Same with the quarterfinals, as it was like so back and forth against Damwon. Way more than I expected, way more than most of the others should have expected, but it was. And then come this game, and I was expecting 3-1 as a score, but I was expecting 3-1 Gen.G because the stats looked much closer. Side by side, the two teams were incredibly close. I just gave the edge to Gen.G due to the fact that there were still a lot of question marks regarding Piotrek's performance, Barrel's consistencies, right? Like him having a large champion pool is one thing, but not enough consistency is not enough, right? Deft was fine. He was very serviceable, but he wasn't doing much more. Zeka was 100% guaranteed to be a very strong performer, and it was just whether or not he could outdo Chovy. And Kingen, no one really had much of expectation for Kingen. But the fact of the matter is, all 5 of them came to play. They showed up big. And Gen.G just did not. Gen.G walked in with expectations of an inferno, and we got a small candle instead, which is disappointing. T1, for the other fact, however, still came back with like a very set of close games, but was also overperforming way more than I expected, or more than I think a lot of other people were expecting, especially in the terms of Faker. I had the idea of my mind, like, is Faker just pulling a John Wick? Like, he's back? Is he back? Is he really back? Are we really expecting this? And I'm seeing this and seeing that, like, JDG was no pushover, right? 100% I was seeing them go to the finals against Gen.G. Neither of them went. I feel stupid. But it was close between the two of them in terms of, like, what was to be expected. And instead, T1 also just pops off. Like, way more than expected. They both have this, like DRX and T1 have a weird game 1, and then game 2 looks like game 1 never existed. And honestly, that's super exciting. We're gonna get another finals with T1 in it. Something a lot of people probably have never seen before starting into the game, like recently. And that's a treat. And Def getting to the finals for the first time when he was cheated from it with his sister team. There's a lot of really cool stuff that's about to happen. And I don't know who's going to win. Not right away. I have an inclination that I want T1 to win. I've been wanting T1 to win forever now. Like, when they were starting to have that hot streak in spring where they were not losing at all, where they had lost a singular game, not even a match, a singular game to Gen.G because Chovy was there. Getting to MSI, going to finals MSI, and then falling off a little bit, having a slightly weaker summer, and then just completely fizzling for the finals of summer. T1 is a team that I really wanted to see win again. I want to see them have a 4th title, like Faker needs to retire, and I would love to see him retire on a high note. But on the other hand, Deft has been at this almost as long as Faker, and he has no titles. He's got like a whole bunch of rookies with no titles to them. Just no titles at all. Literally 0 titles. And their first title could be World Championship. I'm excited. My immediate gut would be to expect 3-1 T1. But I'm honestly going to look at the stats and really dig deep, go over the games again, because I'm not confident in that prediction. I don't think anybody should be confident in either prediction. DRX is the clear underdog and have been the clear underdog up until now. As they hit the finals, they're no longer the underdog. Many are going to expect DRX to be the favorites going in. And I would not fault them for doing so. I don't know. Those are my thoughts, really, on everything that's happened. I'm a little baffled by it. I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Are you equally baffled by the whole situation? Like, these are legends that are back, baby. They're back. Holy crap, it's so cool. I really want to hear what you guys think about the semifinals as general in the comments down below. And if you like this kind of content, leave a like and subscribe. I got a bunch of other videos on the sides over here. Honestly, I appreciate so much of the love that's been shown for this channel. Anybody who's agreed, disagreed, everything in between, I love it. Thank you so much for watching. We only have one best of 5 left. I'm going to have my cake. I'm going to have some non-alcoholic drinks. We're going to have a grand old time. But beforehand, I will make a video Wednesday for the breakdown of the preview, where I'll probably make my hesitantly decisive prediction and explanation as to why. Without further ado, again, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.